Well, welcome back. Welcome anew to the Further Faster podcast. I'm Joseph McClendon III, and I'll be your host, your guide, and maybe even your mentor for this next little while in assisting you in doing exactly what the name implies, and that is helping you go further, faster in your dreams, goals, and desires, more specifically in becoming wealthier. And around here, wealthy means to be healthy, happy, and financially abundant. And you are going to love today's topic, because today's topic is something that across the board, 99, if not 100% of us would agree that we could use more of. And that is something called confidence. People love somebody that's confident, and confidence has power with it. So grab a pad and paper, and I'll be right back to not only tell you what it is, but how you can use it and how you can do something about creating even more of it in your life. I'll see you in just a moment. Well, welcome back. And as promised, today's conversation is going to be about this thing called confidence. And it is something that, I across the board, I ask people, could you use more confidence, or, how much more confidence could you use? Everybody always says they want more. But I always like to start here at the fundamentals, at the basics, and so that we can be on the same page about what it is really, and why it is so craved, and why it is so valuable, and why it is so powerful, if you will. And so I always like to take a look and break things down. I have oftentimes a different definition for the word than a lot of people do. But again, I like to be very, very basic. And as we say that simplicity is the key to really any of your successes that you want. And we assassinate what we call complexity, because for most people, complexity is the enemy of execution. We make things so complicated they can't do it or they don't do it. And at the very least, I want to make sure we're on the same page. So confidence is simply the emotion that is produced when we feel certain that we can and will do something. What does that mean? Let's look at the word itself. Confidence. 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 And what that means is, if I'm confiding in you, if I'm telling you something, I'm confiding in you, and I'm trusting that you are going to behave a certain way with whatever I'm telling you, or I'm sharing with you, or I'm experiencing with you. I'm trusting that if I tell you my deepest, darkest secrets, or any secrets at all, that you're A, not going to turn it around on me and use it against me, or that B, that you're going to use it and you're going to listen to it and you're going to have some sort of compassion or sympathy or whatever. I'm trusting that you're going to take that information and do something that is going to serve us both. I'm trusting that there is going to be a positive response. There's going to be a positive application of whatever I'm doing or whatever I'm saying to you, confiding in you. Well, guess what? Confidence for oneself is the same thing. Confiding in ourselves, confiding in yourself, trusting that you are going to do what you say you're going to do, that you're going to behave with your best interest and really somebody else's best interest at heart as well. At the root of it all, that's what confidence is. Because when you have that, it produces emotion. You have that feeling of trust in yourself. You get to get off of the criticism and the fear and the skepticism and anything in the pessimism that would hold you back. And let me give you some examples of trusting in yourself, because that's all it is. It's just a feeling that you get when you trust that you're going to do and can do what you say you're going to do. I'm going to give you a really basic example of it. And that is this. Think about things that you already have confidence in. I'm going to use the example of driving a car. Most of us, if you're listening to me right now, you might be driving your car right now. Do you ever get in your car with no confidence that you can drive that car? No. As a matter of fact, when you get in that car, you don't even think about it, do you? Matter of fact, You've done probably what I've done more times than I care to admit, got in a car and gotten halfway or all the way to my destination and go, did I stop at that stoplight? You don't even remember the things. Did you think about putting the key in the ignition if your car still has an ignition? Stepping on the brake, stepping on the gas, putting it in drive and stopping it? No. Why? Because it's automatic. You have a level of trust that, you know what? I'm going to do it. It's a done deal. I've done it before, which is the key, by the way. I've done it before, and I don't have any negative or any fear attached to it at all. Now, think about that. Now, and we'll always, most of us will agree that confidence is not only contagious, it is attractive as well. Think about this, the same kind of situation. Suppose you have a passenger in your car, and you get in the car, and as you get in the car, you're scared. And you get in the car and you go, I hope I can do this. I hope I can start this thing up. Okay, so let's push this button here and do that. How do you think that other person is going to feel in that moment? They're going to feel your lack of confidence. They're going to feel your lack of trust in yourself. And therefore, they're not going to exude that. They're not going to demonstrate that to you. They may even say, hey, listen, why don't you get out of the way and let me drive? And so my point is this: confidence is manufactured. It's manufactured in the moment, but here's the greatest part about it is you already have so much confidence in things that you don't even think about. Driving a car, riding a bicycle, writing your name, any of the things that you can do without you having to think about it, you already have confidence. You already trust that you can do that. When people have lack of confidence, guess what they are? They're just afraid. They're just scared. Fear is their dominant thought. It's what's come up front. It's in front of you. It's not unconscious. It's in front of you. If you're afraid of something, it's not because your unconscious is going, you can do this. It's okay. It's because your conscious mind is going, hey, I might die, or I might, screw this up, or I might whatever. It's a conscious conversation that you're having with yourself that's making you think that way. And therefore, your level of confidence, if you will, is diminished. You don't trust that you can do it. You don't trust that you're able to do it. You start remembering things that you failed at it before, even if it was just that thing. I literally just got off a call talking to somebody who was saying that, I used to be able to drive a stick shift in a car. But then all of these years, 20, 30 years now, I've been driving an automatic, and I've forgotten how to drive a stick. And I got in a car, her father's car or whatever, and it was a stick shift, and I froze because I couldn't remember. And since then, I've been afraid to drive a stick. I didn't drive it then, and I've been afraid to. And I asked her the question. I said, oh, that's what she said. She said, it failed me. And I said, did it fail you? Or did you just get scared in that moment? And she had to think about it for a moment. The truth of the matter is she just got scared in that moment. Scared that she would fail in that moment. And I said, were you able to drive a car in the past? She goes, well, absolutely. You could see it in her physiology. You could see it that she got it. And I go, well, listen. Here's the name of the game. If you've done it before, you can probably do it again. Will you agree? She goes, well, yeah, that makes sense and everything. And I go, well, since then, and by the way, I don't know what kind of time had passed in between the time that she had that episode till the time that I spoke to her. But I said, in between that time, how many times have you thought about doing it? How many times have you thought about the times you used to drive the car? And she goes, oh, gosh, never. And I go, exactly. So guess what? When she thinks about having done it before, she has, wait for it, confidence, because she is remembering that time. And you remember something, you feel it in that moment. Remember, around here, Further Faster is based on the whole concept of how we function as human beings, which is think, feel, do, have. And remembering is just a thinking process. So all I had her do was just think about it. Here's what I want you to do. Think about and tell me about when you drove a stick shift before. And as she started to think about it, guess what? You could see it in her eyes. You could see her in that moment. She has confidence. You see, what happens to most people is they feel like, well, I've got to have it all the time, with everything that I do. No, nobody lives like that. If you're human, you're going to have doubts. You're going to have times where things happen to you that cause you to not have certainty in that moment. But the trick is to train yourself to default to that confidence. And how you do that is remembering that you've had confidence in other things as well. Because we all have infinitely more things that we're confident about than we have things that we're not confident about. Infinitely more. But we've forgotten about them. And remember, and I always do this. And I ask you this. Think of 10 things that you've accomplished, that you've done, that you have confidence in. Most people run out at about 5, and I give them a time period of about 15 seconds. Most people will go, well, I graduated from college. I can solve a Rubik's Cube. I can, and they run out of stuff to do. But they are forgetting that I didn't say, tell me 10 magnificent things. I said, just tell me 10 things. And I don't even know you personally that's listening to me or watching me right now. Maybe I don't know you personally, but I can tell you 100 things about you without even know you. You can brush your teeth. You can ride a bicycle. You can tie your shoes. You can write your name. And the list goes on and on. All of those things carry with them confidence. All of those things carry with them the trust that you can do those things without even thinking about them. Some of those things you haven't done for years and years and years, but you could do it. A great deal of people know how to ride a bicycle. They haven't ridden a bicycle in forever, but if you put them on a bicycle, guess what? It'll come back to them. And they have a level of confidence that they can do that. What am I saying here? Is that in order for you to have confidence in whenever you want to do, whatever you want to approach something, be it first. What does that mean? That means experience the feeling first and go into whatever you want to do with that feeling versus going into it with the feeling of lack of certainty or fear or frustration or doubt or any of those things. How do you go into it that way? First, preparation. Now, preparation comes in 2 different forms. Number 1, preparation immediately before you do something. You can do that, and I encourage you to do that as well. The other type is premeditated. And what that means is don't wait. Do it ahead of time, even when you already are confident. Stop and make yourself and think about times that you are confident. And so I'm going to give you an assignment, as I always do, that's going to help you build your confidence. But all you got to do is, remember, I call this human physics. And here comes your physics lesson, if you will. When you ask most people, you go, okay, what is physics? They draw a blank. Either they never learned what it is, or they have no confidence about it because it is one of those words that either they didn't study themselves, or they didn't pay attention in school or college or whatever, or it was way over their heads, or they weren't interested or whatever. So it brings about fear. It brings about uncertainty. It brings about doubt and all of those things. But watch this. Physics is just the study of movement. That's it. In its rawest, simplest form, physics is the study of movement. Now watch what just happened to you. Do you know what movement is? The answer is yes. You have confidence in that. Do you know what studying is? Yeah. It's just, going in depth and learning about something. So now you know what physics is. So if I said to you right now, and it's just you and me having this conversation, if I asked you, do you understand what physics is? Then guess what? You're going to trust in yourself that you know what it is. And in that moment, you got confidence about it. Now, for the rest of your life, you get to go through and go, okay, well, I got confidence about what at least this physics means. Now, watch this, because here's how it grows. I go specifically, let me give you an example of what confidence is, or I'm sorry, what physics is. If I pull a string on this end, that's movement, yes? Well, guess what? Something is going to happen on the other end. The string is going to move on the other end, or whatever it's tied to is going to move on the other end. So physics is the study of the cause and effect of movement. Now, guess what happens to you in that moment? You go, ah. Now, if you're watching me, my eyebrows go up and I'm going like that. You get an aha moment. And each one of those times, dopamine gets released into my system and I become more what? Confident that I know what that is. I'm getting that feeling in that moment. This is how, because remember what I said. There's in the moment what you do right before you do it, and there's premeditated. So we're doing it in the moment, right? And right now, I'm giving you confidence because you're going, oh, right now, I'm feeling that way. I feel confident that what he's saying makes sense, and I could explain that I could do that myself. I understand that. You've got confidence. You're trusting in yourself that you understand it. Now watch this. Let's add to it. So if physics is the study of the cause and effect of movement, let's apply that to human beings. And you go, okay, great. I can understand movement, pull a string, that kind of thing, cause and effect. Okay. What about human beings? Well, watch this. Whatever a human being moves, however they move, the more they move, the effect is going to be that they get better at it. That's it. And you go to yourself, well, wait a minute. That sounds like practice. That sounds like something I already know. And I'm confident that I know that if I move a certain way, I'm going to get better at it. And there's going to be some other effects. If I move my body by lifting this weight over and over again, that muscle's going to get better. Or if I repeat eating these healthy foods over and over again, I'm going to lose weight. Or if I do whatever, then I'm going to do this. And you've got confidence in that, and it builds. Now think about it. You've done the same thing for driving a car, anything that you've done. It's just repetition. You've done it over and over again. That is the in the moment methodology of developing confidence in that moment. The other way is premeditated, meaning when you're not even thinking about it, when you're doing something else, do what I call preemptive strikes. And what that means is choose a time and I'm going to give you an exercise. We're going to take a break here shortly, but I'm going to give you an exercise to do that is going to bring you into a confident moment in that moment, even though you were doing something else, watching television or scrolling on your phone or whatever. If you take the time to practice being confident, then guess what you're going to get good at based on what I just said before about physics. You're going to become more confident. You're going to walk with that. You're going to be that more. We all know people who exude confidence. Somebody can walk into a room and something about that person is exuding confidence. Well, from an electromagnetic standpoint, here's what's happening to that person. However, now they may not have done the exercises that I've said, I'm pointing out, or, they've had encouragement or they've done something in their lives, but the way that they walk is that they are living that in the moment, that they're feeling that way. Back in the back of their mind, their psychology is saying, I'm a good person. I'm going to have fun. I am going to do this. I'm going to do this. I can do this. I've got that. That's the tape. That is the DVD. That is the digital information that's going on in the back of their mind. That's their psychology. That's why that person exudes confidence. Now, by the way, this is different than self-esteem and self-certainty and all those things. Those things are great. But this is not, what do they call it? False bravado. This is what you really are. And that is just remembering that you can and have done and accomplished many, many things. And all of us, like I said, we have infinitely more things. So we're going to take a break here shortly. But before we do, let me take you down a different path to give you an example of why it's important to recognize your efforts and the things that you've done, not just how smart you are. There was a study by several colleges, esteemed colleges, and what they did was they took a group of kids. Now stay with me on this. And they took these kids and they gave them certain tasks to do. Whatever the task was, these children did these tasks, and at the end of the task, they either praised them for their intelligence or they praised them for their performance. And let me give you an example. They would say, you're so smart that you did this. And here's what you learned. And you're so smart in that. That's praising them for their intelligence. The other group, that with the same tasks, they praised them for their performance. And they said, you performed this. You tried. You worked hard at this. This is really great. Well, guess which ones in the end excelled? The ones that were praised for performance. The ones that were praised for intelligence did less, performed less, produced less, through time, by the way, versus the ones that were praised for performance. And when I say praise, it's just recognition. It's a pat on the back. It's a, hey, great job this. It's a remembering that you've done this. It is an acknowledgement that you can, and you've given effort in doing this and making this happen. So the child learned that, wait a minute, I don't have to succeed right now. I don't have to be the best right now. They're unconscious. Their level of certainty that is all I have to do is just keep doing that physics. do it over and over again, I'm going to get better. Now I'm intellectualizing it, but listen, a 10, 12, 9, 10, whatever all these the age of the kid are, they're not intellectualizing it that way. It's emotional. And in their emotion, they're just going, I trust that I can put forth effort. If I can put forth effort, then I'm going to get results. That is confidence. That is confidence. So when that child walks up to other things in his or her life, they're going to walk up with the feeling that all I have to do is try and I'm going to get result. My seminars all the time, and praise is so, so important, which is going to be part of the exercise that we do here coming up. I do my seminars all the time, and I go, if the baby turns around for the first time to the mother and father and says, Ma, the parents don't scold it because they didn't say mother. They go, that wasn't smart. They don't go, listen, the word is mother, M-O-T. They don't do that. They go crazy. They praise the child for trying. They go, do it again, do it again. And the baby's nervous system quickly learns that all it has to do is try and do it over and over again, and it'll get better and better at it. That baby trusts in itself that all it has to do is try and it's going to get results. When we come back from this break, I'm going to delve a little bit deeper, but I'm going to give you an exercise that you can use to start building more confidence in you. I'll be right back. Hey, what's good? It's me, Joseph McClendon III, and let me get real with you just for a second. Now, you've probably heard me talk about this before, something that I call the thieves of our dreams. Procrastination, hesitation, fear of failure, fear of success, self-doubt, self-loathing, imposter syndrome, and fear of rejection. Well, let me ask you a question. What if you could not only retrain your brain and your nervous system to automatically default to your absolute best thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, but you could also do the same for others that are going through difficult times and challenges in their own lives and things that are stopping them from creating the life of their desires? Well, this is what I call neuroencoding. And at the risk of sounding arrogant, these are the same tools, methods, and strategies in neuroscience that I've used to operate in the upper 5% of all of my own businesses, especially as a coach, a speaker, and a presenter for the last 30 plus years. The Neuroencoding Institute provides you with the knowledge, the tools, and unmatched support to become a certified neuroencoding specialist and guide you to the life of wealthiness. And remember, wealthy means to be healthy, happy, and financially abundant. Go to neuroencoding.com to speak to an enrollment specialist today, and I look forward to serving you at the highest level.
You're enjoying this episode on Angel Phoenix Productions Podcast Network. To explore a complete lineup of quality programs and media production services, head on over to angelphoenix.com or like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Angel Phoenix Productions.
Well, welcome back. Welcome back. I'm confident that you're going to love this exercise that I give you. But before we do, let's kind of recap what we talked about. The confidence is just the feeling that we get when we have absolute trust that we can and will do something. Confidence, confiding in ourselves, trusting in ourselves that we can do something, and that and when I say something, I mean anything. It's just a feeling. That's all confidence is an emotion. It's a feeling. And how we develop that is just by remembering things that we've done. And if we remember that, then we go into human physics, we do it over and over again, we'll get better and better at it. We walk this planet that way. And the greatest part about it is guess what? Your brain can and your emotion can only feel one thing at a time for the most part. And the more you feel confident, then that's going to be the dominant one. And the more you do it, you're going to get better and better at it. So how do we do this? How do we make it so that we default to confidence versus default to pessimism and sarcasm and all of those things and doubt and uncertainty? Really, really simple. Human physics. Watch this. So there's two things that I want you to do. First off, this is going to be a great memory building exercise. I'm actually going to do a full episode on this at another time. But I'm going to give you this exercise because most of us, we don't remember things from the past. We don't remember a lot. Matter of fact, the old saying is the older I get, the worse my memory gets. And if you believe that, that's the way it's going to be. But listen, years ago, there was, and I've forgotten his name, Fernando, I've forgotten his last name. Yes, I do remember his last name. His name is Fernando Ezel. And Fernando, when I first started listening to him, was 114 years old. 114 years old. And this is 10 years ago. Now, he did pass away about 4 years ago. I think he lived to 119 years old. And he was spry. And he was my model, if you will, because I like to model people. He was my model of what is possible. Because one of the things about him, obviously, he was very healthy, and when I say spry, he was really, really sharp. And he even said at one time that that his relatives, a great deal of them, had Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that. And what he said, and this is what gave me the impetus for creating this exercise that I've got for you, and it just works, is he says, I just keep my brain working. He says, I read all the time. I reread all the time. And when he said that, I go, well, what does that mean? He didn't give any more other explanation. He goes, I reread. And he showed his library. He had this great big library of stuff. And when I say he was spry, you would think that this man was maybe 55, 60 years old, not only in his looks, but the way that he spoke. He was articulate and he was sharp and all those things. And when he said that, I thought, okay, what's the science behind rereading something? Why would he even say something like that? And I thought about it. When we reread something, when we revisit something, it's human physics. We get better at it. We develop those neuro associations again in our brain. So when you remember something, like you've been thinking about something, okay, I can't remember her name. We can't remember. I was joking around. I remembered his name in the very beginning, but I go, okay, but I did it on purpose. And I go, oh, it was this. And if you're watching me, I call it aha. When I go, oh yeah, it is this. What happens is eyebrows go up, dopamine gets dumped into the system, and the system says what? What just happened that we got this rush of joy, this rush of euphoric feeling? Oh, we remembered this. Let's do it again. And we get better and better at it. And so part of the exercise is this, is to find a book, or maybe even, I don't want to just default to movies, but I want you to find a book, and you can do it with movies, and read it again. Read it again. And as you read it, when you come across something that you remember, because inevitably, here's what's going to happen. You're going to remember, oh, I remember this part. I remember this part. Is when you do go, stop for a second and go, I just remembered that. Every time those eyebrows go up, every time you get that expression on your face, dopamine release. And you're training your system to get better at remembering. And you become confident that you can remember things. This exercise is golden. I can't tell you how much my memory has improved in doing this, because I was one of those people who for a long time, I felt the same way, that, you know what, as we get older, our memory fades. It doesn't have to. Our memory fades because we don't use it. We don't know how to use it. And as a matter of fact, don't get me started. We have been hijacked, if you will, by social media and television and all those things to not have to think, to not have to remember. But the more effort that you do, remember human physics, the more effort that you do at remembering, then guess what? You will remember more. So the exercise is real simple. Find something that you've read before, reread it. As you reread it, I even have a highlighter that I'll highlight and I go, that's it, as I go through it. If you look in my library, I got a huge library. If you go in my library, most of those books have been highlighted because I've reread them again. And here's a really cool part. My journals, I reread my journals. So that exercise is the number one thing that I want you to do. Second exercise is this. Remember, everything that we do here is not just about listen to Joseph go yak, yak, yak. This is about what I said earlier, helping you go further, faster. This is what we call neuro-encoding. You're encoding your nervous system so that it defaults to a specific, chosen, preferred set of thoughts, behaviors, and outcomes. That is it. And this process is super simple. And that is, get out, remember, what you write is what you invite. Get out your journal. If you've been around me for long enough, you know I've said, go get yourself some sort of journal. I like the leather-bound kind, one that means something. And all I want you to do is for the next maybe 10 days, or maybe even 5 days, take 10 minutes a day. And I want you to list any and everything that you're confident about, that you have trust that you can do. Remember, I didn't say just the grand things and the things that stand out, going to college or anything. I mean everything. Now, here's the rules or the specifics. Your pen now we're going to write, not type. Your pen or your pencil cannot stop. You got to keep writing. Number 2, you cannot repeat day to day. Number 3, when you're finished, you celebrate. Number 1, can't stop. Number 2, which means, keep on going. Number 2, no repeat. At the end of it, you celebrate. You pat yourself on the back for all the reasons I said before. Remember the baby going, ma. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to run out of stuff very, very quickly. But remember, you can't stop. So you start to say, I can tie my shoe. You know what? I can go check my mail. I can do this. Because what's happening inside the brain is it's repetition. It is your brain is going to start making, remembering, putting back together things that you've forgotten, that all these things that you can do. But here's the great part about it. Remember, you can't forget. The searching process is the rewiring process. And as you're doing this, here's what's going to happen. At the end of 10 minutes, you're going to praise yourself. What are you praising yourself for? That you did it. That you did it, which is going to make your nervous system go, let's do it again. We want to do it again. But here's the really cool part. The brain does not stop when you stop. You're programming your brain to search for things that you've done. So throughout your day, you're going to be going, oh, I can do this. I can do this. Oh, yeah, I'm doing this. I remember when I first started doing this, I'd think of things in the middle of the day. And I go, oh, yeah, I can do this. I'd be washing the dishes. I go, oh, I can wash my dishes. And I'd literally run to my journal. I go right down, or I can wash my dishes. What's happening is in that moment is you are developing confidence in that moment because you're spending more time in your unconscious mind looking for things that you're great at and remembering things that you're great at. And guess what? Dopamine release, and you have more confidence in doing that. This exercise, and remember, the praise is so important, just like I said, because the nervous system goes, what did we just do? Oh, that happened before this. Let's do it again. And it wants to. And you start to train yourself to be that way. Unfreaking believably simple and unfreaking believable results that you'll get as you're doing this. Confidence, confiding in yourself. And remember this, always, 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 and this is key, that life is always exactly what you dare to make it, and fortune favors the bold. And the trick to life is to boldly step up and dare to make your life magnificent. So boldly step up and do this exercise. I cannot wait to hear your stories of confidence through this whole process. And I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. I'll see you at the top.
This podcast was a production of Angel Phoenix Productions. Explore more episodes of this show or other great shows on the Angel Phoenix Podcast Network by visiting angelphoenix.com. The views expressed in this show do not necessarily represent those of Angel Phoenix Productions or its advertisers and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners.